everyone, and welcome to the next edition of Real Talk Time. I'm your host, Dr. Talia Wachowski. We have an amazing guest today. We're going to have him come on in just a moment. But I wanted to thank you all for joining us. I wanted to say that I hope everyone is doing good with this quarantine 2020 situation. And remember, hey Jazz, how you doing? Good, I'm good. Nice to see you. Welcome to the Rate Educate Humanity podcast.
I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Do you want to introduce yourself for the people at home?
Yes, my name is HD3, also known as Herbert Decker III. I'm a motivational speaker, Reiki healer, and life coach.
Beautiful. And let's do not 20 questions, but 3 or 4 questions and let people get to know you. What is your heart's calling? What's the most amazing thing and most important thing to you to get done in this world or that you do daily?
I would say for me, the biggest thing was understanding the gift that I did not know that I had, which was a gift of speaking and using that to help others get through trauma in their life. And I would say for me personally, the biggest gift that I've ever felt, that my experiences, the traumas, the events that I've been through in my lifetime, to overcome those obstacles and to use that as a guiding force to help others heal through their trauma at the same token. So I would say that was one of my biggest callings that I truly love, is to be able to speak and help others through the different events I've been through.
Beautiful. Okay, so Re-Educate Humanity is a platform that basically helps people to understand that the messages that we've received about our sexuality in particular, this is not a podcast or a movement to have people run around and just all have sex with each other, though that's awesome. Everyone should do that every day. Just kidding. Some people are monogamous, some people are polyamorous, some people don't have a word for what they are. Everything's good. But what this platform is about is helping people to understand that we all have different relationships with our sexuality and our sensuality and our spirituality. And it's kind of our life's work, in my opinion, to figure out what it is that you desire and what it is you want with every individual person that you're with. Find those words, express it to them, and that will decrease the stress that you have in your life. And it also will decrease the negativity that you have towards yourself, maybe about things that you might do to or with people in relationships that you don't feel comfortable or confident about. The point is that we have a lot of negativity in our minds about the things that we think, feel, and in the ways that we act sexually, because we were talking about this on our first call, is that religion teaches you that your strongest God-given urge and desire, which is to procreate the world, is evil and horrible and going to send you straight to hell if you believe in hell. And even if you're not religious, society breeds this into us. Me as a female I have no problem with my sexuality. I'm very proud of the fact, not proud, I'm just comfortable with the fact that I do whatever I feel drawn to do with whomever, and I don't make apologies about it, which is a very male position. But especially females aren't really supposed to have sexualities and have desires. Even in the most progressive Western world, female and male sexuality and the way we're allowed to be and perform is very different. So I wonder if you would speak to all that and see what your thoughts are on how we are as people, how we judge ourselves with our sexuality, and where spirituality ties into all of that.
Well, from my personal point of view, I understand exactly what you meant. And here's one of the biggest keys that we've never thought about is, what is the strongest manifestation that a human being could ever do? Creation. Where does that start? It starts with sex. So when we think about creation, when we think about manifestation, when we think about what an orgasm is, technically at that point, we're at that point of creation. So even if we're not even thinking that, we're not even realizing our conscious thoughts or our subconscious thoughts, whatever's going on in our mind at that time is going to produce actually a result. Now, that's an energy force. That is a ritual, which means that if we're having sex, also the partners that we choose also plays a big part in it. You know, like they say, sometimes that person that can make you feel very drained and that person that can make you feel very happy, what energy are they putting out during that peak right there? Because if you're in alignment with the right person or different people that are in the same alignment with you, you can grow with that. You can actually use that energy to channel different things into your life. You know, you can say, you know what, before we begin, let's focus on this intention during that time. You know, that's power.
So you're
right
saying
there.
maybe even before you have sex with someone, ask and be like, let's set an intention for this experience.
Yes. And I'll
That's
admit,
kind
I've
of
done that,
cool.
setting intentions with the experience. And it
Okay.
does work
So,
because,
so are you willing to share what that experience was like and
well,
how it was different? Not the
I'll,
details, of course, but
it,
how does
okay.
it make sex different when you set an intention?
You know what it did? Because when we set an intention, when I first tried this to see if it would work, after doing research and studies, when we both set the intention, our mind was already in alignment. So we basically said, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the simplest intention. We're going to focus on being happy, and we're also going to focus on actually a material object also at the same time, being happy, and we wanted to focus on getting a new place, right? So that was the intention that we had set. So we said, okay, now that we have set that intention, now we know that we know each other. We already vibe on that level, right? So when we did have sex, the whole key was, okay, I have to know the person's body, right? So I knew her body. She knew mine. So we knew that when we're in alignment, for some reason at the same time, we both had orgasm at the same exact time. Studying
Mm,
the person's body, knowing when to go and when not to go. And from that moment, when that point happened, we both focused on that same intention. So,
mm,
and the experience was right after that, just right after the experience was done, we felt happy. Not just like, okay, we just had an orgasm in our inner spiritual being, and the orgasm was a lot stronger. I will admit it was a lot
mm,
stronger. It was very powerful. We were like, whoa, what was that? It's like our spirits are both combined at the same time. They're
mm,
both in alignment. We both set a purpose. We both set an intention. Because we did that,
mm,
we were able to grow stronger at that moment. And then, yes, the
mm.
next day, the rest of the day, we were feeling great. So we were actually playing with it. And, from that specific experience, from
And
that
this
one
is a
individual,
person that you
and then
have a relationship with and lives in your house, possibly, or this is like a friend, or you don't mind me asking.
this was a relationship I was with at that time.
Got it. Okay. Because it's
Yeah.
different, like I don't usually do relationships. I have
Mhm.
partners that I absolutely love and have been with forever on and off. So it would be different because I might not even, to be honest, have the opportunity to be with them the following day because it's not the way we work. You know what I mean? And then we wouldn't, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to enjoy the aftermath, so to speak. So, and the reason I ask that also is because everyone that listens, they have different ways that they perform their relationships. So that's why I asked. So thank you for answering. Okay, keep going.
Yes. Yes. And I could take it back to an experience before we had the knowledge, right? Before we was even aware of that. And when sex was just sex, it felt good. And you had your moment, but it was just that. But when we understood the principles and the power behind it, it just took it to another level. Now, after that, and then, going into other different relationships after that situation, I knew what the power of it was. So I felt that
Mm,
it was upon me to educate my next partner, whoever I dealt with at the time, that, what, guess what? Do you know the power of this? And, I just built it on, and the curiosity built. And I noticed from that point, my experiences were better and better each time. And I was choosy about who I would have sex with. So I would
mhm,
have to see the person's energy, see their vibe, because I knew that if someone had a negative vibe or negative energy, I knew that would just throw me off out of alignment because I was more aware at that point and knowing the power what it brings. But it's not even just the fact of the sexual gratification, just knowing that you can channel that energy. You can channel that power within yourself and actually use it as a strength, use it as a motivation,
mm.
use it as a way
So
to
you're saying that if
set yourself
someone
for
has,
success.
sorry to interrupt you. You're saying if someone has
Yeah.
something that they want more of in their life, like happiness or joy or calm or peace or whatever, that you set that intention and you could do it not necessarily for the couple or for the moment or for the sex, but for yourself, the things in yourself that you want to strengthen.
Exactly. Now you probably say, how is that possible, right? Well, I got an answer for you. Well, throughout the day, we all have our emotions. We feel, sexually aroused at times when we see individual, or it just happens, right? A guy just wake up in the morning. That energy is flowing through you at that moment. You can take that
Mm-hmm.
energy, meditate on that energy, and focus it towards an intention. So,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm feeling like, okay, for instance, I see a woman or something like that, I feel aroused off of it. I say, I know what I can do with this energy. I want to manifest something right now at this point, because that's a creative energy. It's a sexual energy. It's a creative energy. Your body is already flowing everything through your body right now. You don't need a specific person at that moment. And you can take that energy, meditate on it, and focus on another intention and make it possible. So it's not even just, even when you're having a sexual encounter.
How do people, because I've experienced this personally, like sometimes I can have such an intense connection with somebody that I desire to take it to the next level, obviously. And if I don't manifest that, I can get very distracted in my head, and it's very hard to communicate with that person, do business with that person, etc. if I have a strong desire for them. It's almost like, I call it like a brain jumble, you know, can't think past it. I'm very much like a man. It's very entertaining, right? Because I know that men experience it as well. And you can make a joke and be like, it's because all the blood goes to their penis, right? Funny, ha ha ha. However, like I've experienced it personally, but it's actually like a distraction / an obsession. You know what I mean? You're out of your mind. Yeah. You're thinking all these like non-productive thoughts, at least for the what you're trying to accomplish at hand. And it feels good, but what about, you know, how do you refocus that energy? That's a very powerful thing for people to be able to do. There's the book, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's about the habits and the thoughts and the actions of very successful, the most highly successful men in history. Not women, of course, but men. I'm just kidding. And at the end, he talks a lot about celibacy, but not having to do with sex, but about like obviously celibate sexually, but repurposing that energy. You know, if you have a desire, what do you do with that? So maybe you want to educate us.
Okay. For me, being a Reiki practitioner, I use my chakras.
Well, you're already money ahead of now. Yeah, keep going.
So I use my chakras because, you know, we're looking at the sacral chakra. So that's where our sexual desires is going to be, at our sacral chakra. What I personally do, I just basically just go from
the lay people at home. Sacred chakra.
So basically it's right there, right about a little bit below your belly button. Yes.
Okay. So
yeah,
there's
your sacral chakra is
genital region. That's like it's like your root. That's what they call the root chakra, right?
Yeah. So it's right above the root is the sacral. That's the one that actually has the sexual desire right there.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Keep going.
Yeah. So, and I've been going through learning meditation and become a Reiki practitioner. That's I learned to channel my energy. So basically, from that area, when I'm feeling it, right, I take a deep breath. I basically just call in my chakras all the way up, straight up to the top. So I'll go from the root all the way up. I just take a deep breath and I just focus on that specific area in that moment. And you can actually truly feel it. Just focus on that moment. It doesn't even take that long. Take a deep breath, focus in on it, on that energy and what you want, and just set it at that moment, and then just breathe out and let it go back out. So it's like I'm just taking it in and I'm just breathing it out. And it just generally now is just 1 or 2 times, since I'm so used to being able to do that. But it's at that moment, but you have to be consciously aware of yourself. I believe through meditations and eating clean is what caused me to get to that point. Because, you know, when it's something new, it's a lot harder. But when you practice, it makes perfect.
I lead the same lifestyle. So it's very helpful. I meditate twice a day, and I eat no concentrated carbohydrates, very little sugar, only dark chocolate. And I bring that up and I highlight it, and I want to pause you there to highlight it to the people listening, because what you eat affects everything. Everything.
Yes.
But that would be very different. We could do that as a part 2. We could do that as a whole part 2. But anyways, another follow-up question. Where do you feel it in your body? Because you said you focus on it and you move it. I know when I feel my energy start to go, it's in my head. It's like my whole body. So I don't even know how I would I don't know where I'd be moving it from and to. But yeah, any thoughts you have?
Okay, I feel it in different parts of the body also too. But the whole key is, the biggest key I think what it is, even if you feel it right here, you feel it right here, you think about it in your head, is, you know, you just on your clothes as a man, whatever. But the biggest thing is when you focus on that, it's the energy of it, because your subconscious and your conscious actually knows where it's at. So you're actually focusing on that specific feeling. So if you cannot just focus on that area, because generally if I mainly feel it in that area, but if I feel in other areas,
just hone in on that.
It's the intention.
Okay, so I have a suggestion.
Exactly.
we all are very good at obsessing. Our minds are like our highest, strongest power is the power of obsession. And therefore, if you don't have something you're doing that makes you feel good, like you're contributing to society, you're making money, you're entertained by the people you're around, you will obsess about other things. Obsessions drive addictions. Obsessions drive behaviors that people do with sex and relationships that they don't feel good about. Obsessions drive everything. It's the need, it's the desire, it's the craving, but it's the way our brains work and people don't realize it. So in this instance, my suggestions to people is that you should enjoy the obsession. That's how you focus. That's how I focus. If I need to focus on something that has anything to do with sexuality or moving it or whatever, it's the same thing as when you just had like an amazing night with someone or you just met someone, you can't stop thinking about them. But when you, instead of trying to stop thinking about it, when you just enjoy it, you just sit there. I meditate twice a day. So I'm very aware of my thoughts. And I'm very aware of when I meditate, if I just had an amazing experience, even sexually, I'll just sit there and obsess about it in meditation for like 5-10 minutes till I knock out, you know?
Exactly.
And I don't, meditation's a whole, we should do another one on food and another one on meditation, 100%.
I like that.
But anyways, back to you. But I just wanted to give people, you know, because we can, people like you and me who spend a lot of time paying attention to our thoughts or trying to be aware of what happens in our body, we come up with tools and ways to do things. Like you said, like focus on it and move it. But even that is like 3 steps ahead to someone who's never been aware of the fact that they could even like play with energy in their body or try to move it. So I want to give people as much of a step-by-step breakdown as we can, or even trying to like, what does that mean? Move it. Like, where is it? What does it feel like? You know, does it tingle? Does it tickle? All that shit. All of the above. All the good things. And the answer is yes. So, does it tingle? Yes. Does it tickle?
Yes.
Does it feel good? Yes. You want to obsess about it? Yes. And the other thing is, if all this shit, I'm just going to have a little public service announcement for sex and sexuality. If all this shit feels good, how in God's name can it be bad? Like, it doesn't hurt anyone. Sex only hurts people when you go around having like 5 million children that you can't take care of, when you don't protect yourself so you get everyone around you sick that you touch, or because you're just such an asshole, sorry, but you live as a hypocrite and you hurt people because you ask them to stay committed to you and you have no intention to stay committed to them. Other than that, everyone should be fucking everyone as much as they want, wherever, however, whatever. And I got to say one more thing. The reason that I am the way that I am in terms of being really comfortable with my sexuality or even comfortable with myself, I think, has a lot to do with not judging myself and just being free and doing all that, because people, like girlfriends of mine have said, you know, you should be in a relationship because when you have a lot of different partners, it leaves like spiritual residue on you. And I was like, okay, well, actually the energy that I play with when I'm with someone physically is a way that I get to learn about myself. It's like I can feel them, I can feel me, I can feel reactions, the conversations we have, all of those experiences. They say when you're in a relationship that you have a mirror, so you could see yourself and you could do work. I just prefer to have a shit ton of mirrors and go as fast as possible. So that's my positive reframe on the situation. But I think it's an interesting world that we live in. And the reason that I created this platform and I'm so passionate about it is because I think that the secret to people's happiness and people's, even their wealth, their happiness in all things, health, wealth, love, friendship, everything, has 112% to do with sexuality. I think sexuality, not sex, but your sexuality, the things you think, you feel, and the things you do. But even when you do something, the doing it does not affect you. The thoughts and the feelings and the residue from it is what affects you. So all of that combined makes someone feel a certain way about themselves, how they think, how they feel, how they act around their sexuality, around their desires, you know? And so if someone has an unusually high interest in sex with different partners or just sex in general, or they're very interested in porn because they're really into masturbation, whatever the case may be, even if you are normal and you are married with 2.5 children and a dog and a house with a fence, you still see a hot fucking, okay, so I have a lot of friends. I live in the Dominican Republic part-time, and a lot of my friends are from Colombia and Venezuela. They live down here. They are gorgeous. These women, first of all, plastic surgery is like it's like welfare in these countries, right? Like you don't have to have money. Like they just let you go in and get shit done so that you make the country look good. I have to study it more, but that's pretty much what I think is happening down there. Because if you see the bodies on these women, they're gorgeous. And I'm 100% straight. Like there's no part of making out with a girl that intrigues me. I love women, but I don't see them and like want to jump them. But when you see a woman's body that's gorgeous, you're gonna look because it's fucking beautiful. Like you can't not look. But if you're in a marriage and you sincerely love your wife, because we're talking about, you know, heterosexual situations with a man observing a woman, right? So even if you're like in a marriage and you love your wife, like you love your wife, you love your family, everything, you're still going to look at that woman and you might even get a little hard, something like that. And in our brains, whether we're consciously aware of it or not, we think we're like men, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, see a gorgeous woman, he's with his wife, he loves his wife, he feels like there's something wrong with him, that he's attracted to other people. Very rarely do we allow ourselves to just be free and open. When you're free and open, not even with your actions, just with you allow yourself to enjoy the way someone else looks. And you have a relationship with your partner that they aren't going to castrate you emotionally if you actually admit that someone else looks good, you know, or you even would want to fuck them. But you don't actually want to fuck them because you enjoy only fucking your partner, for example. But in theory, you would want to fuck them. What a freeing world we would live in. If everyone could actually be honest, I know this is a bold statement, but actually be honest with the people that they're fucking. They don't even have to be in a relationship with them. But like, you know, I try to convert all my girlfriends and say, just be a side bitch for life. Because the side bitches are the only ones that know what's really happening. Wives, as soon as you get a title, wife, girlfriend, otherwise, the lies begin. Because it's not that men are bad and women do the same fucking shit. Well, no, actually women are completely different. And I shouldn't stereotype, it's not all men and all women. But men generally compartmentalize if they want to do something, right? And men are trained by society that it's completely okay to go out and have a lot of partners. And in certain cultures, it's completely normal to have a wife, a girlfriend, and a couple lovers, and the women just kind of have to be okay with it, you know? And all that is fine. Yeah. I just think that even in that, even if the wife knows and isn't necessarily okay with it, but it's just a cultural norm, and the guys do what they do and they don't feel guilty because they're technically allowed to, or their wives, you know, kind of know or whatever, there's still things that are ingrained in us subliminally that unless someone like you or me explains it to someone and they go, holy shit, I really do think that in a weird sort of fucked up way. Like, yeah, I do feel a little guilty when I see that hot fucking Colombian in front of me with an ass that's like fucking insane. And say, like, she's like completely like, if I had to draw a woman, that's what she would look like, you know? But you feel guilty. Like, why? Yeah. It's beautiful. God made women gorgeous, and God made men gorgeous if you like men. You know what I mean? Because we're all supposed to fuck each other and procreate the planet. And we will not be like animals if we just allow ourselves to do whatever the fuck we want. Because I'm actually the least animalistic in an asshole way than anyone else I know. But I guess I'm not, you know, can you really judge yourself? But I'm just kidding. But my point is that there's a fear in society that if we all do what we want to do, most of all sexually, we will be no different than the animals, right? But I don't know how true that is, because I personally have learned a great deal about myself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually because of how free I've been with myself, not just with the actions, but with the thoughts and with the feelings. You know, and if something doesn't feel good, if I have sex with someone and I don't feel good in the morning, I'm probably not going to have sex with them again. It could be their energy. It could be that there's no connection. It could be that they were fucking bad. It could be that they're an asshole and just have no, you know, they seemed interesting, but when I really got to know them, they're not entertaining human beings. You know what I mean? Whatever the case is. Yeah. But if you live your life honoring what your reaction is to things, and you have to take action. You don't know what your reaction is going to be sitting in your head. So if you think, oh, I don't know if I really want to be with this person or not, try it, and then you'll know. It's not complicated, you know? Just make sure you put a condom on and everyone's happy, you know? So, and I think that's the other thing that happens also. I mean, you see it in really religious communities, is that when you demonize sexuality, you just see tons of people having sex as young as possible, as early as possible, without protection, because it's so evil that, like, you're not going to use a condom. That's even make sense to me. I mean, it does make sense to me. I'm just on a mission trying to fight it. Oh, we lost our guest. Hopefully he'll come back. It's okay. I was doing most of the talking anyways. So if any of you guys have any questions, let's see. I'm going to look in here, see if we have any questions. Or if anyone else wants to jump on and share anything, feel free. Hello, everybody, and thank you for being on. So while we wait for our guest to come back, if you have any questions, let me know. But I'm curious if there's anything that you guys feel in your lives that you need to focus on that has to do with like relationships, spirituality, sexuality, that you think that are blocks in your happiness, right? So think about sex, sexuality. Oh, good. Our guest is back. But if you think about sex, sexuality, relationships, your desire, the people you like, the people you want, and think about the blocks that exist there. So, hey, welcome back. Think
I'm
about
back.
the blocks. Think about the blocks that exist in your subconscious, in your thought process, because you have those conflicts with those people in your life. So I was just bringing up, while I was waiting for you to come back, that think about the people that you have a desire for, that you have sex with, that you have a relationship with, and what energy that takes from your life. What, in terms of bandwidth, in terms of when you're thinking about them. It could be good or it could be not so good if there's some sort of conflict and, you know, you're text fighting for 5 hours one day or some shit like that. You know what I mean? But I brought up that point because I think it's important for people to realize how much our relationships affect us. Like if I really care for somebody and I have a conflict with them, friendship or sexual partner or whatever, it's very hard for me to be productive that day. It's very challenging.
Yes.
I'm not all present because there's conflict and I want to resolve the conflict. So
Yes.
the reason I bring this up is because people don't realize that when you lie to people that you care about deeply, about anything, you could even be lying by omitting. It's not a lie, but imagine you have sex with someone you're dating and you love them and you even want to have like a family with them or something like that. But you really like BDSM. You enjoy when someone ties you up before they fuck you. But you really don't want to bring this up to your partner because he or she is like the sweetest thing in the world. So there's a part of you that's going to lay dormant because you're even afraid to bring that up, that the person might judge you, you might lose them, blah, 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 blah. That creates separation between you and the person, which is the exact opposite. And it's a thing that you're fearing will happen. So you're manifesting your own destiny. So the thing that I brought up while you were off for just a moment was that I want people to be aware of the amount of energy that goes in when you have a conflict and understand that it's so important to be proactive about trying to keep all of the relationships that you have clean, especially the ones that you have sexual relationships with, because that's, you know, sex does create intimacy. Like, I'm sorry, it just does.
Yes.
I would like to be the first person to say that it doesn't, but unfortunately it does. You do form a connection with a person and it does affect you. So the more honest you can be, the more freeing it is for your soul. But the only thing is, it's all well and good that I can say, just, you know, be honest, be open. But you have to know who you actually are, what you actually want, what you actually think, and what you actually feel. And we as human beings are completely numb to like 90% of that most days. And then if you add like narcotics, alcohol, cigarettes, sugar, caffeine, concentrated carbohydrates, what am I missing? Crack, you know? If you add all of the medications over that can basically take us out of our emotional state to numb us so we don't feel, then we have no way to get any feedback from our experiences and figure out what works for us and what doesn't. And then we continue to lie to ourselves because we haven't taken the time to actually get to know ourselves. So if someone really wants to go on a personal journey and get to know themselves, I highly recommend you stop doing everything. Except it's very hard to do that and not go crazy from all the feelings and thoughts and emotions. So you usually want to do that with help. You have two very talented people on the phone right now. I would recommend, if you did want help to go deeper, that you literally talk to as many professionals as possible until you find the one you like. Same as if you were getting married, same as if you were buying a house. You're not just going to go out and be like, okay, well, I want a house. Like, I want a coach. I want someone to help me through. I want a house. Oh, this is a house. I could buy a house. You need to find therapists, any mental health or emotional health professionals or coaches, etc. You need to shop for them the same as you would for a house, the same as you would for a car. Like, drive as many as you can, go visit as many as you can. I mean, you can literally be on the phone with someone for 2 seconds and you can tell if they have empathy. You can tell if and as soon as someone doesn't feel good, I know this is like, I'm basically training people to be bipolar, but it's okay. As soon as someone doesn't feel like, your therapist or your guide or your coach doesn't feel like they really get it and there's a miss, leave, because they don't. And I mean that very sincerely. I know that's really fucked up for me to say, but it's the same as in a relationship. Like, there's just certain things that are deal breakers. Sometimes it's someone cheating. Sometimes that's not the deal breaker. But when you hit a deal breaker, you're wasting your time continuing with that person, unless you're learning stuff or benefiting in some way, whatever. That's the same with a relationship with a coach or a therapist. You have to trust and be open to that person 100%. You have to want to a similar lifestyle to what they have, because subconsciously we pay. That's why psychology kind of confuses me. It's supposed to be a blank slate. I'm a psychologist. I'm not supposed to let my clients know anything about me personally. Why in God's name would they follow my advice if they don't know what my personal life looks like? What if my personal life is a hot fucking mess? I have no money in the bank. I have no love in my life. I'm a miserable human being. I have no friends, but I'm a damn good analyst. You know, I could tell you, oh, what do you feel about that? And that sounds like your mommy issues, you know? But if my life sucks, people lead each other down the pathways that worked for them. People lead each other down the pathways that worked for them. So get to know someone's life a little bit, you know, ask them, like, do you have a partner? Do you have whatever? Make sure that the things that are important to you are also important to them, unless you'd like outside perspective. But that's what I suggest, because I suggest everyone figure out what you want for yourself with your sex, with your spirituality, with your sexuality. And I say spirituality and sexuality intertwined because they really are very similar. And if you sincerely, you might think you know, but it's really good to take a deep dive, because then you can come to a situation clean. Then you won't lose relationships, or you won't attract bullshit situations that piss you off, waste your time, and hurt the fuck out of you. They can take months to recover from. Like, who needs that? You know, you could be like me and just never get into relationships, so you never have to deal with the bullshit. I'm just kidding. That's not why I do it. It's a part of it. Or you could actually take the time, like I have as well, and this amazing gentleman has, to figure out who you are and what you want. You have to slow down for that. You have to start meditating for that. You have to get help outside of your brain. I had an amazing teacher once that said, your brain is not your friend. Your brain is the most dangerous neighborhood in the world, and you should never be there alone, ever. I thought that was pretty powerful and very accurate. Once you become friends with yourself, once you know yourself, once you know how to process your thoughts and your feelings, once you actually allow yourself to feel them and you go through that, you will be your own best friend. You'll enjoy, like, having a glass of wine or just chilling and, like, letting things come, thinking about things. You'll be able to have quiet time. Right now in quarantine, this is where people are realizing where their shortcomings are in terms of their own mental health and emotional health. People are working out, people are starting new businesses, but they are also freaking the fuck out left and right. They feel lonely, they feel scared, they feel depressed, they feel suicidal, all because you have to be alone in a house with yourself or maybe one or two other people for a month. Wow. That's big. Because if I was alone in my house, I would be sad. I'd be lonely. I'd want to hang out with friends and talk to them. But I have a shitload of stuff to do. I would start painting fucking art projects. So that's why I said, before you jumped on, I said, your quarantine homework, everybody, is be your own camp counselor every morning. All right, campers, we're going to have some breakfast, then we're going to go for a run, then we're going to do this art project, then we're going to find a new logo for our company, then it's so exciting. And if you do all of this, you do it well, you can watch a movie at night, like, plan your shit, have some fun,
Yes.
But
exactly.
the layer deeper is use this time for what a lot of people are using it for, which is to figure out what's happening with you emotionally and spiritually, and allowing the quiet to make you feel uncomfortable and then doing something about it, not medicating,
Yes.
not running, not being a camp counselor. Camp counselor is so that you can survive and not be depressed right now. Real, you can survive in life or you can thrive in life. And I know everyone says they
Yes.
want to thrive, but thriving is fucking work, man. It's work and it's painful. Like, however, sorry, I'm preaching. It's painful, but on the other side of the pain and on the other side of the work is the most amazing bliss, the most amazing happiness you don't need or want for anything other than some sunshine, some beautiful trees, some warm weather. You don't need any drugs. You don't need alcohol. You won't need sex. You won't need gambling. When you are happy and you're okay with yourself and you're authentic, everything else you do is an added bonus.
Yeah.
It's not a way to survive and a way to escape your reality. Lastly, and then I'll shut up and then I'll stop and let my guests share too. Lastly, if you need to escape, there is something wrong with your life. If you do not feel good, there is something wrong with your life. Sure, everyone has a little bit of chemical imbalance here or there. There are real life occurrences that make you feel depressed or hurt you. But in reality, if you are thrilled with your job and you're thrilled with your partner and you're thrilled with your friends, what's to be depressed about? And if you have real mental issues that come up, severe anger, some people I have very good friends that have such anger issues. Really what they're hiding is severe sadness, but they either turn it on others and it's very hard for them that they hurt people, or they turn it on themselves, get very depressed, lock themselves in a room until the feeling passes, So there is legitimate shit that people feel like they need to escape from, but it's because they don't have the tools, So if you feel like shit, find a friend that is feeling worse than you and try to feel what they're feeling and try to tell them what they're feeling. And you will feel yourself light years better for helping people. Okay, I'm done with my bandwagon speech. Back to you, my guest. I just want people to get well. And they have two amazing professionals right now. And I want them to know that they should reach out to us. I personally will work with anyone. For whatever, if you could afford like $1 a day, I shouldn't say that shit, but I want to actually get people doing what I know will make them happy. And psychology is not the answer. Sorry to all the shrinks out there. Psychology stays in your head. You need a heart connection with a real human being who you know personally to heal, who you trust, who you're not afraid to say anything to, who you can tell them that they're completely full of shit when they are, because I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. If you say something and it triggers me and I say something stupid to you and and I'm coaching you, you need to be able to say to me, are you kidding me? Like, you really think that I should break up with my boyfriend? Or you really, because that's kind of what you're implying, so that I can say, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That isn't what I wanted to say. I don't have to admit that I'm going through my own shit or that, I'm completely, we call it transference. They do teach you as a psychologist that you might fuck with people's heads accidentally because you have your own shit. It's called transference. Well, transference is when the client transfers their feelings on you that they feel for another person. Countertransference is when you're a fucking asshole and fuck up as a shrink and put your shit on your client. We're human. So anyways, okay, public service announcement over. Back to you.
Well, you do make a lot of interesting points right there. And I definitely want to touch on this last part right here that you were talking about, is the isolation that everyone's going through. I can say 3.5 years ago, I went through a spiritual awakening, as we call that, where everything around my world pretty much fell apart. And I ended up in isolation at that time, and during that phase, I had to learn to figure myself out. I had to peel off every layer, Why does this suck? Why is my life like that? Why is this going as, all the why questions and stuff, wondering why everything's falling apart. And then it got to the next phase is, do I really want to be here anymore? I'm sick of this life. It got to that point right there. And then it got to the next point is there a God? If so, if there's not a God, I'm going to end. If there is, I'm going to still be around. It was like all of that stuff going in, seeing signs all around me. And then it got to a point where it's like, you know what am I going to do about this? I could sit here and complain. I got to that point where I got so fed up with myself, with my own stuff, having dreams, having thoughts. It was like that purging, just releasing everything out of the system. And I remember
Wait, I want to stop
I
you
was
for a
talking
second.
to
You allowed yourself to feel. You allowed yourself to go
yes,
like through it. Anything you, and it's to you.
yes,
That word is so important. The purging, because you were purging. Because I feel like for a man to say I sat in bed and just allowed myself to feel doesn't always get the best response. But if we use the word purging, very different, much more masculine. Okay, I like it. Keep going.
so as everything was coming out, I got to really discover what the blockages that I had, you know, the childhood traumas, the adult traumas, everything, not just about who did what to me, what did I do to myself? You know, taking
So
accountability
powerful.
for my own actions, you know,
Well, that's
and
also really important because to take accountability, if you live in a world where you think that you're just at the whim of horrible people all day long, you'll be very depressed. If you know that you live in a world where you can control it because you somehow had some sort of something to do with that situation that hurt you, then you don't feel powerless.
yes,
So I think people don't realize taking responsibility is not like so you're a good person. It's actually to free you spiritually.
yes,
Okay, fine.
yes. So
But it's powerful.
that was major right there. You
Yeah.
know, getting out of the victim mentality. Like, okay, wait a minute. I was part of this equation at the same time. What part did I play in it, and what could I do differently? You
Yeah.
know, and that's where my growth began to happen from that point. And that's when I started looking for other avenues. And a lot of people started no longer associated with me. You know, friends, everybody was falling away, but I wasn't upset anymore. It was like, okay, whatever. If people want to be around me, you can, you can't. So that's when I got into watching motivational speakers at that time. I started going to motivational speaker conferences and stuff like that. And to get an idea, because it felt like a calling. It has always felt like a calling, but it was opening up that door. And then that's when I met a friend who did Reiki at that time. Like, hey, why don't you come and get a Reiki session? It was kind of like I was going down a rabbit hole for a while. And I was okay, I like this. This is cool right here. Have you tried a sound bath? It was more like I was getting a true alignment with myself. But as I was going through, I was finding out what worked for me, what didn't work for me, what I like and what I didn't like. So that's when it became, you know what, I can heal. I love this. Let me get into Reiki. Let me get into motivational speaking. Let me get into helping others with my stories, my traumas, and I pulled out a book. I call it my blueprint. I built my blueprint to see these are the things I went through. This is the steps that I've tried that worked. This is what didn't work. And let's see how I can grow from there. But it took that going into isolation, like you said, feeling myself, releasing everything, the stuff that I did not even want to think about that I put back in the back of my mind from childhood and everything else. Like, wow, like, okay, once I started to release that old energy, I began to feel a lot lighter, a lot better, a lot more calmer. And like you said, to go get a spiritual advisement, you know, I took several different routes. I went to church. That was one thing. I went to, I did therapy. You know, I went for anger management. I took anger management. I've been through a lot to get to where I was. And I realized that I couldn't do it alone. You know, when I realized I was like, wait a minute, I'm screwed up here. I can't focus on what someone else did to me. What did I allow to happen to myself? What did I do to myself? And what can I do to fix this? I need help. And I think that was my calling was.
I was just going to say that sometimes if something's done to you, it's very hard to think, how did I contribute to it? But sometimes the lesson in that, or the thing that you can see so that you feel like you can take responsibility or learn something from it, is the characteristics in that person that made them hurt you, or what they actually did that you might have ingested,
Yes.
or assimilated into yourself, and looking at yourself and saying,
Yes.
okay, like there's no way in hell I would have ever done that to anyone. And I didn't do anything to deserve that. I didn't do anything to instigate it. Maybe I could have left a little earlier, especially when you're little. Like, it's very hard to think like, okay, well, I didn't do anything to deserve that. But you have to think about, especially when you're little or you have no control over a situation, there's things you ingested. So just, it's like extra credit points for spiritual evolution.
Yes.
Like, just make sure it's not inside you. Just make sure you didn't eat it accidentally spiritually.
Yes. And that is so true. And I believe that's why I mentioned motivational speaking, which was my first platform that I grew into, because I was able to give the message to others. And people would come up to me and say, you know what, I've experienced similar situations. I've been through that. And I didn't understand the power of my word for a while, but then I understood, you know, and that's what allowed me to grow into motivational speaking. But that also allowed me to say, you know what, if I can speak to people, what if I built a platform, a coaching platform? Let me get educated in this area to understand it better. Let me get into healing. So that's why my major areas are motivation, coaching, and healing. And like you said, I'm not just looking for just anyone specifically of any area, like, oh, I only focus on childhood traumas or I only focus on relationships. Whatever area, I'm open to all areas because I've experienced a lot, and I believe that everything is tied into us for all the things that we experience, whether it be a relationship.
Do you think that in order to help someone, you need to have gone through it yourself?
I believe that for me personally, that's part of the equation, but I also believe that some people actually just have the natural gift of actually being able to see from another person's point of view, because you got to understand that person's point of view, because you can experience a lot of things, but if you don't have no other understanding other than yourself, then you're not going to be able to help anybody else. So I think the other key component is we have to be able to still understand a person, whether we experience it or not, because sometimes we think, okay, I've been through it, so I know it, but then you don't see that person, you projecting your own, traumas onto them to try to get help versus, okay, let me see where they're coming from and see how I can help them. So I believe that's just part of it by experience. The other part is understanding, listening to where that person's coming from,
Exactly. I think that also there's people that have a desire to be of service in general and might not have gone through a lot of stuff, but there's people, I wonder if you are as well, but I'm a major sentient, which means I can feel everything around me as if it's my own.
Yes.
So when I was little, I had no idea what the hell was going on. I was like an emotional wreck all the time. And my mother was very depressed when I was growing up. So I was depressed all the time, but I actually am a very happy person. But I grew up depressed because of my mother, but not because she did anything. I mean, yeah, she screamed and yelled and no one had a perfect childhood. But she provided for me. I love her. She's an amazing fucking woman. But because of the emotions she was dealing with, it literally colored my entire childhood, which is crazy. And it took me years to realize that about myself. But like you said, there are certain gifts that people had. And that was actually like a gift, because there's a lot of things I've experienced, so I can help a lot of people with those things. But there's a lot of things I haven't experienced, like the type of rage that makes you have to turn on someone else, like it kind of turns your personality to something else. I've never experienced something like that. My mom has it. I don't have it. But I have friends and I dated people that have it. And I know what it is because I felt it through them, So the reason I bring that up is because I think it's very important that when you're working with someone, you find people who have either gone through the same experience as you, because it's very hard for them to understand. Like if you, God forbid, have been raped or molested, for example, and you get help from someone who has, there's an instant, not just bond, but rapport. There's an instant trust there and understanding. You don't have to explain what you felt. You do, because every situation is a little bit different, but they know, unfortunately, from firsthand experience, all the ways in which your life is colored horribly affects your, with that example. And that would take maybe weeks for you to explain to someone that you don't even have to put into words because they get it, but you should for your healing. So, but if someone hasn't experienced the things that you've experienced, but they're a sentient, like I am, and you probably are too, and they can be around you when you feel certain things, they can feel it. And when I articulate to someone, wow, you want to kill everyone in your path right now, but you're the sweetest human being, so you're going to go lock yourself in a room so that you don't, God forbid, hurt someone, not physically, but just emotionally, because you're horrible right now, and you just don't want to hurt anyone. They're like, wow, I've never been able to put words to it, but that's exactly how I fucking feel, and I have no idea how to get out of it. But just being able to put words to it sets them free, because they're like, okay, I'm not crazy. Because in their mind, they're fucking crazy, and they're trapped because they're not being able to find or to have the words to be able to express what's going on, and you just don't feel good, and you just don't feel right. It's like a baby without words, and it's very scary and it's very hard. So I think us as helpers, it's our job to articulate as much as humanly possible, and then to give people tools. And the other thing I wanted to say about what you just said, which was powerful, is that you needed help. So you went out looking for help, but you became your own guinea pig. And in turn, you healed. And you figured out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But you have all these tools that might not have worked for you, but you could even try them with others. And I think I actually I have the happiness that I have and the growth that I have because I was my own guinea pig as well. Out of necessity, but even more so just out of curiosity. Like, I'm a spiritual seeker and soldier. Like, I just want to know everything, but I don't know.
Yes.
And like, knowing is experiencing, not just seeing, like experiencing, feeling. So if I try on like, I don't, just because my girlfriend tells me that if I have a lot of sex, it's going to mess up my spiritual alignment. When I go out and I do whatever I want to do with whoever I want to do it with, like I was saying, I learn about myself. I haven't even been able to figure out how to articulate what actually happens, which is a whole separate thing to try to find the words when you kind of realize things that you see. You know what I'm talking about? But when I'm with different people and I don't judge myself and I do whatever I want to do, in each of those experiences, I learned. I had preconceived notions about that person. I had desires that I didn't articulate, that didn't get met. And then I got mad. And then I realized that I didn't articulate my shit. So then I articulate moving forward, you know? And so every experience in life is to learn. But you need someone to help you, and you need tools. Or else you're not actually learning. You're just getting more and more data packed into your sweet human brain and psyche and soul that doesn't know what we are all about 2.5 years old spiritually, maybe. That's like stretching it on a good day, you know? Like, we have no idea how to deal with all the shit we deal with, which is why we consume as many painkillers, not actual pills, but the fact that, like, we need as much sugar as we do, or caffeine, or, you know, we're all just like, we're all hurting. I had a teacher once that taught me this phrase, and it's true, but we're all just hurting. We're hurting beings trying to figure out how to, like, not hurt anymore, you know? So it's a process, but life is the adventure, and life is the teacher, but you still need someone who can help you find the words so that you could take it to the next level. It's all about communication. And until we all stop lying to each other, first to ourselves and then to each other, we're never going to be able to communicate telepathically again, which means we're going to have to go figure out some fucking words. And the reason we wouldn't have to speak. Like, everyone's seen Avatar, they connect the tails and it's all good. Like, game over. Conversation over. I know everything about you. You know everything about me, my thoughts, my actions, my intentions, my desires, my responses, everything. Everything's in the tail. They connect the tails, they're good. We 100% could communicate like that, but we're scared shitless that anyone actually sees us, but it's what we want more than anything in the fucking world. And then we wonder why we're miserable. If I had a microphone, I'd drop it right now. But it's not, the point is, it's not rocket science. And there's people like you and me and other people that are amazing. And I think that it's important that everyone finds someone to help them, you know, find something affordable that works for you. You always do want to pay for it. You don't want to just talk to your friend, because first of all, your friend is eventually not going to fucking talk to you anymore. Your friend isn't like, your friend doesn't necessarily know how to help you. And it's really, really good to respect someone. And even if you're paying a small amount, whatever is comfortable with them, it's a very, 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 you need some sort of exchange, or else someone's just giving. And even though they're okay giving, like, I've done a lot of free work with people, but it was by choice. Like, I wanted to give to that person. They didn't have money. I worked with them for a short period of time. I took them to the next level so that they could make some money, so they could be happy, you know, so they could pay for services. So all of that's important. I think that in this quarantine time, do some work on yourself. Like, it's fun. It's not scary. It's an adventure. And feelings are only yucky when you fight them. If you feel them, they will not kill you. You will survive. You might end up crying in your bed for 5 hours and looking like a fucking mess. But actually, when you're done crying and you wipe away all the tears, you're going to look fucking beautiful. You're going to look like a radiant, shiny, shiny fucking star, because you just let off layers and layers and layers of shit, you know? And feeling the feelings are so good, like crying. If you have anger management issues, you are a fucking, you have severe fucking sadness. And no, it's not because some shit happened to you when you were little. Like, you have feelings that you're running from. And I want to do a public service announcement for men. Because the way you guys have to deal with your emotions, we have to deal with our sexuality. We have to pretend we don't have a sexuality because we're women, and that's how women are sexy. I don't fucking know. We are women, and we are good women when we are behaved sexually, because we are supposed to get men to behave sexually. We're supposed to control the species. By controlling our sexuality, we're supposed to control them. Like, eventually a man finds a woman, I'm speaking heterosexually, of course. Eventually a man finds a woman that's cool enough, smart enough, hot enough, or he just wants some fucking babies, I don't fucking know, or a housekeeper that he doesn't have to, that he basically calls a wife. But eventually a man settles down when a woman tames him, right? It's completely fucking insane, but that's a separate conversation. That's podcast number 4 for us. We're just making the list right now. But in reality, the same way that we are not allowed to have a sexuality, men are not allowed to have feelings. If I see one more parent, I have my best girlfriends that tell their sons, be a man, be strong, don't cry. What? I mean, they also tell me not to cry. And I tell them, sorry, I'm going to just go like lose my shit for like 5 minutes. I'll be back. Don't freak out. That's you freaking out. I'm good. I like losing my shit. I lose my shit, I grow, So, but men, especially boys, little boys aren't allowed to have feelings, or else you're gay, or else you're a sissy. Are you fucking, how many sensitive men there are on the planet? Do you know that most of the healers, like, look at all the powerful healers on the planet. They're men. They're men.
Yes.
I mean, we're all healers. We all, like, there's a lot of women out there that are healers as well, but men are supposed to feel the same way we are. If you have to go and cry, I have a really good friend who gets really overwhelmed emotionally a lot, and I, like, everything I can do, I'm like, sweetheart, angel, go to my room, just go somewhere and get it out. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be fucking awesome. I had a fear. I'll admit, I used to have a fear that, because I had a lot of childhood trauma, that if I went into some of the stuff, that I kind of wouldn't come out. Like, it'd be a little too deep, it'd be a black hole, and like I wasn't coming back. Or I'd have to go to like a padded cell for a little bit while I really felt all the feelings or anger, or wanted to just like knock people that have experienced molestation, which I have, or God forbid rape, which I haven't, thank God. It's that shit buries deep, and that shit colors your life and you have to, and I know this sounds scary as fuck, but you have to feel it. You have to feel, not the touch, not the scary shit, but the feelings, the fear, the paranoia, the anger, the overwhelming. There's so much I could say on that subject. But I just hope that everyone uses this time to do a deep dive. If you're a man, I challenge you this week to cry. Watch a movie that makes you cry. And there's a movie called Lion. It's about orphans in India. If that doesn't make you cry, you have no heart. Watch Lion, cry your eyes out, and let's figure out how to uplift ourselves as human beings, because we're not running away from our feelings all the time. I say it lightly and in jest, but it's not easy. But anyways, we have about 2 minutes left for our hours. So I'm going to turn it back over to you for closing thoughts and closing remarks and telling people where they can find you and all that good stuff, even though we'll have your handle at the bottom when we produce it.
Okay, well, in closing, it's true what she said, that men need to cry. And I can put on a face right now. I had the meanest face ever for the longest, walking around looking like this, unhappy because I was hurting inside. And it took isolation for me to actually see, to let the tears flow out. And one thing I can say, as a man who was taught to be tough, be strong, that's one of the equations of being a man, is being strong, yes. But the other strength is being able to release those tears, because the longer we hold in those tears, the more anger we build up, the more hostility build up, stress builds up, and we kill ourselves, a spiritual suicide. So as men, we need to let those tears go. I'm not afraid to cry. I've released lots of tears. But once those tears are released, I can say from my point of view, it released that energy that was on me. It allowed me to grow. And when we do that, it actually feels good. So we do need to feel. That is something that is very important. And that's another thing that I like to speak a lot about, is that as men, we need to take on all our emotions. The only way we're going to grow is to know ourselves. And feelings is natural. Crying is natural. Tears is natural. There's a difference between being a man and being a punk. A punk is someone who's hiding from themselves. A man is willing to say who he is. As a man, I'm still strong if I have tears. We're all born with tear ducts, so let's use them. Tears cleanses.
So I want to thank you all for joining us for the Reeducate Humanity podcast. We had an amazing guest. Hopefully he'll jump back on just to say goodbye. But if you want to find him, we're going to have all of his information below and attached.